Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Witsup Mothers Group Part 2. Now, we had a lot of questions last week, but I've got three of them. I mean, they're lovely, but they love a chat, and I just couldn't interrupt their chatter last week to ask all the questions that we had in the Mothers Group last week. So we're back here for round 2. So let's welcome our three lovely panellists, Mirinda Carfrae, here she is, Meredith Kessler, and Rachel Joyce. Hello, ladies. All right, let's go around the room. Hi, Tim. I think that was Tim that just walked past behind Rinny there. Oh yeah, oh that's right. He can't. Hi.
He's in his towel. He's just about to go jump in the master spa himself.
Oh,
nice.
Well, let's start straight with that. How are you guys working or changing or adapting to doing most of your training indoors? Let's just start straight with you, Rinny, because you've already mentioned the master spa.
The master spa. I just jumped out of the master spa. You can. Oh, thank you.
Oh, wait. What have we? Oh, that's what we should have started with. What are we drinking?
Today I'm drinking Crispin cider.
Excellent.
Nice.
The size of your
head.
head.
So just got out of the pool, and I don't like beer, so.
Yeah. Fair enough. Joycey, what have you chosen to have a drink?
I've got a gin and tonic this week.
Perfect.
Oh, nice.
Mixing it up.
A G&T.
I'm going with, in my Kessler whiskey glass, actually, but it's wine. I'm having a Gamba Zin. That's my jam at the moment.
A what?
Nice.
It's Gamba. 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 Yeah. It's good, is what I'm saying to you.
Okay. And I've got a boring soda stream water. It's very disappointing.
9 a.m., yeah.
Yep.
Shoot.
Yes. Okay, Rinny, back to Endless Spa. Talk us through that.
Yeah, Endless Spa. That's a bit
Sorry,
of a
Master
mashup.
Spa. Sorry.
Master Spa. I just was saying, I just got out of the master spa. You can see the mark from my my snorkel. I just did a little hour swim in there. But yeah, in terms of adjusting, to be quite honest, I mean, I think a lot of people have kind of touched on this, but as professional triathletes, this is not a whole lot different to our norm. The difference obviously being that the pools are closed. We can't go to the pool or the gym. But for the most part, you know, in Boulder, we are able to go out and ride our bikes and run on the trails as long as we're practicing social distancing or common sense. And you know, obviously have my training partner living with me, so I get to not have to practice social distancing with him when I'm out on the trail or riding. So yeah, not too much different. And fortunately for me, Meredith has got a more interesting story on how she's going to continue swimming. But I signed a deal with Master Spa last year, and our spa was actually delivered at the end of January. So, yeah, we are very blessed to have that in the backyard and go out and just jump in. The commute to the pool's a lot shorter than usual. But, yeah, I mean, really, you know, riding a trainer, running on the treadmill. But having said that, races are postponed till who knows when. And so we've all reverted back to sort of off-season training. I'm training not more than sort of 15 hours a week right now, as opposed to 25 or 30, which is what I was doing prior to the lockdown. So not training as much, but definitely have the perfect setup for this situation.
Yeah, right. And Meredith, talk us through your idea.
Mm-hmm. Well, as you guys know, I love Zwift, and I just got the run pad. I wanted to say that. I got the run pad. So, like, Holly and I did an interval run, and even though we're not next to each other, like, I'm in Ohio, she's in LA, I want to tell you, the run pod rocks. It's like I'm running with her, and we're around a track, and we're just not physically together, right? So I've really been enjoying that. Go run Zwift and like my little pod that I have. But also today I rode with Kato. We rode on Zwift. But like just knowing that you're meeting someone, I mean, again, like Rachel, like Rinny, we would do it anyways because it's like what we do. But it just gives you even more like gusto to like know that you're meeting someone for a run, and then you see with them, you're running in your little avatars, and you're like, all right, well, it's like you envision that's what they really look like too. So I'm into it. But for the pool, so yesterday I just bought for $130. I saw it on Swimming Wizard. My friend sent it to me. It's on Instagram, and some Olympian swimmer bought this too. It's off Amazon, by the way. You can just troll over there and grab it. And it's a big 10-foot pool that's only $75. And then they send you a purifying chlorine kit and a pellet for another $50. So it arrives on Monday. I'll report back in on that. Yeah.
I look forward to it.
I'm going to try. And then I have a band. Holly is actually sending me a band that I can tie my feet and just go. Hey, I'm desperate, so I'm going for it.
I love it. Can you do a time lapse on your phone so we can see you setting it up and trying to do it? I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, it'll be a circus, but I will do it.
I'll talk you through how to set it all up and get the right lighting and everything, so we can
Perfect.
make it a masterpiece. Joycey, I know because you were before all this started happening, you had said that you were going to start training for a run. I can't remember what run it was though.
Leadville 100.
Okay.
So I did start training for that, and then I hadn't been in the gym for 9 months, so I got a bit injured. So then this has been good. I started working with Kato, who Meredith just mentioned, and I just did a strength session. So this has been kind of I don't have much in the way of home gym equipment, so it's like a tin of paint and a cushion for instability. So I've been doing a bit of strength and building up my running, and who knows whether the Leadville 100 will take place, but it's nice. I'm kind of able to do back-to-back runs again, and I've actually been thinking selfishly that this break means that I'll be able to get back and do some of Julie's swims, because some people won't have had access to the Masters Spa. So I might be able to jump into the slow lane and not be completely terrible.
Even with the Masters Spa, Rachel, you'll be able to dominate my lane anyway.
Because I just as this kind of kicked off, I was really missing swimming. I guess I haven't swum since October. And I was like, it's a nice summer activity. So maybe if it works out, Meredith, I might buy one of those. I will sit in our little yard though.
Perfect. And then the boys can play in it. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I'll swim in it, banded, and then Mac will come and float in it. It's a win-win, Rach. I'll report back in.
Yeah. Sounds good.
I love it. Okay, let's get started. A couple of people have asked more about what are you drinking. I feel like this has become now the thing. Riddy's got cider. Rach has got a good old G&T. Wait, hang on. With lemon or lime or cucumber, what's your garnish in your G&T, Joycey?
A lemon.
Okay, cool.
And I'm kind of thankful that we had a lemon, because we're not going to the store that much. It was actually on the shopping list.
Yeah.
The essentials.
And rightly so. We've got a lemon tree. It's our neighbour's backyard, but it keeps creeping over. And I figure if it's over the fence line, it's ours. So we're good for lemons.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get stuck into one of the questions from last week. And it's a question that I've spoken to a lot of friends and a lot of pros over the time, and when we were considering getting pregnant, it was something that went through my mind a lot. And the question is, hang on one second. This is from Mel Marsh. For you guys, was there ever a right time for you ladies to decide when it was time to take a break and have a baby? And for me personally, that was, and I'm not a professional triathlete, but just in terms of life in general, it was a real struggle to sort of figure out when the best timing was. And then you have obviously, but what happens if it doesn't happen? Like, you can't plan specifically for an actual time. Can you talk us through that process, particularly as a pro triathlete, where it's not like you can work up until your due date. Your work life looks very different once you're pregnant and obviously once you have a child. So who wants to jump in? Go, Joyce.
Just one quote that I saw probably before it was kind of imminent that we knew that we wanted to start a family was a quote from Paula Radcliffe, and she talked about, I think it was in her autobiography, but she talked about talking to her mum and saying, we want a family, when's a good time? And her mum said, there's never a convenient time. There's never a right time. You just have to kind of go with your gut. And I think there is a time where you feel like you're ready, but if your career is being any career, but you just have to, it kind of puts a pause on your career a bit earlier as an athlete, because if you can kind of work up until you give birth, it gets a little more difficult when you're in your third trimester to keep working. So I always kind of kept that in mind. It's never going to feel like, right, this is the right time to put a pause on it and not earn any money and that kind of thing. So that definitely kind of was something I remember thinking, oh, okay, it's never going to be financially an easy time or whatever. I think for me and for us, we kind of knew it. We were kind of wanted to start trying.
Yeah. Rinny, or?
Yes, I totally agree with that. Want to stop racing, or for us in particular, take that time out, and the financial ramifications are kind of scary to think about, and that was kind of my biggest concern. But I knew, I knew it was time. I knew in my gut, Tim, we knew it was time for our family to start to grow. And in terms of timing, for us, it couldn't have been better. We couldn't have planned it more perfectly, because across the finish line in Kona, I basically was like, I'm done. Like, I want to have a baby now. Like, I was thinking about it during the marathon in Kona in 2016.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to finish this race and then I'm going to have a baby, and I'm going to take a year off of racing. And that was my plan. And fortunately, we fell pregnant the next month. And so it was definitely something we discussed throughout that year. And it was, you have that, all of a sudden you go from, we want to have a baby, to like almost obsessed with it. I was thinking about, starting a family and having a baby and like what all that would look like. But yes, it is still very scary, because I didn't know how my sponsors were going to react. Obviously, I spent, 10, 15 years building up my career to be at a point where financially I was at the top level or top echelon of the sport and making really good money. And I'm like, I don't want to give this opportunity up to keep racing at this level and making the money that I was making at that point. So yeah, it was a scary time, but I knew with every ounce of my body that it was time for us.
Yeah, right. Sorry, I'm just getting a message from Meredith that her screen is frozen. Sorry about that.
At least she has like a normal face on. It looks like she's
I thought she was listening to you very intently.
Yeah, me too.
I was like,
oh, funny. Oh, far out.
Moving a little bit again.
So and I felt exactly the same. Sorry, Joycey, you go.
I think just kind of bouncing off what Rennie just said, is it came for me, like triathlon, being a professional triathlon was like the dream job, and I knew it was the time to start trying to have a family, where I felt like it was starting to eat into, like I felt like the opportunity cost of carrying on racing was too much, because I was losing the chance of having a family. So because I think I was 37 in 2015, 37, and I was like, it has to happen soon. And it was starting to take away some of the joy of racing, because I felt like I need to get we need to get going on this. So it's definitely kind of a feeling I had.
Yeah, there's almost like a tipping point when you're like, loving racing, this is amazing, and then all of a sudden you have a pull from something else, and you're like, wait a minute, like the joy of becoming less because I'm being pulled in a different direction. She's back.
Oh,
I'm back. Sorry.
Hi.
No, you're
I
okay.
can't even blame my son. Yeah, I just stopped, and he's downstairs with Aaron, so it's just me. I'm back. I'm sorry I missed that, Rin.
We were just saying that we thought that you were just listening quite intently. Actually,
Were we still on the same question?
Yes, yeah, but something's happening with your phone.
You're sideways. Okay,
I logged back onto my phone because I was too nervous my computer wasn't going to behave.
All right,
Is that bad?
No, it's all good. But just while what I'm going to get you to do on your phone, I'm just going to give you a quick tech lesson. Go.
Okay.
You know how you swipe down from the corner of your phone and it brings up different things? I think you might have your phone frozen that you're not allowed to rotate it. So we need to take that rotation off.
Okay.
Work
on it.
I'm being really OCD now because everyone's in a nice little landscape rectangle and yours is the other way, and there's just all these. It's not.
Okay.
But while you do
Tell
that,
me where I go again. Okay.
So
I'll figure it out.
This when you swipe down on your phone and you get that screen.
Yep.
I
see you.
That little rotation button. This is riveting. This is a tech lesson for everyone who's joining in at the moment. Make sure that button is not on.
Okay. Going. Just ignore me.
And once that's turned off, then turn your phone again and see if it doesn't work, we'll just put up with it.
Okay. It's not working.
It's okay.
Are you okay with it? Can you survive this?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
So just following up from what Joyce and Rennie were saying, that there was this pull away from something that so away from the racing, and that was a gut feeling. And that's exactly how I felt as well. For so long, people had asked, do you want kids? And I had said, I love kids, but I don't want them now. And if I come to a point in my life where I want them and it's too late, then that's what I have to deal with then and there. But one day I was in our spare room. That was actually our bike riding room. That's now Frankie's room. And it hit me like a ton of bricks that I wanted a kid. And I just walked into our room and was like, how do you feel about becoming a dad? Let's maybe do this. 2 days later, so I dropped this bomb on him. 2 days later, I flew to Roth, and I'm like, all right, you just think about that for a while. And he's like, what the hell? So yeah, for you, the same question that we were asking before you froze on our screens, MBK.
Sorry. I was just saying, I kind of compare like having a kid with like training, and I'll give you that symbolization there, is that in training, whenever if I try to get to a certain weight, or I eat pristinely, or I don't, for me, I just like to keep the balance, and the same can be parlayed into pregnancy for me. The second I stop thinking about it, stop trying. I mean, Aaron and I have been together since we were 14. I mean, I'm 41. He'll be 45 here in a few months. But my point is that we tried when we were 30, and it wasn't producing babies, but it was producing good results in triathlon. So I was like, all right, well, that's going well. This isn't going well, but that's going well. So then we held off, and then the clock ticks, and I had too many birthdays, and and then my point of saying all that, as soon as I just took the worry off of trying to get pregnant, if you will, is when it all came together. And then I was barfing around the course at New Zealand, wondering why, and I was pregnant. So that was, like I said, it was bittersweet that was a situation there. And I remember I went to LA to train with Holly, and I remember I was we were on a long run, and I had literally had to pee every 5 minutes. I was like, I'm sorry, Holly, I don't know what's happening. And I just got back from New Zealand. And then I went and took a pregnancy test when I got home from that trip to LA, and that's what I was saying. So my point is, when I stopped thinking about it, and that's what I do tell friends that come say something to me, that they're not getting pregnant, things aren't working out the way they they hope, and there's never a good time, as the girls said too. There's never going to be a good time, whether you're 30 or 39. It was when I got pregnant. And so I don't know, I just take the pressure off, and I had settled with maybe not having kids. I did always want to be a mother, and I always, and I was very open with the universe about this. I really wanted to have a boy with my husband, because if you've met my husband, like, I worried if I had a girl. I'm like, oh my God, like, what's gonna happen? He would have been great. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, one thing, having been with my husband since we were so young, is I really wanted a boy. And so my mom and sister said it best, is like, because I was so much older when I first, is that I had to hold in the birth. I found out at like 8 weeks, when you could, because I was advanced maternal age. I found out he was a boy, and Aaron was on a fishing trip and wasn't getting back for a week. So I couldn't tell anyone for like a week. And then my sister, we did the silly like reveal thing, because everyone was like, Mare, you're pregnant, we're gonna do this, and you're old. They all have like 10-year-olds. So I made these Hershey bars, like, and they said it's a boy, and inside them. And my sister and mom were like, oh, and we did a vote, like, people who came like to the little party, you know, that whole little cheesy thing. They took inventory of, like, and everyone said it was a boy, because they knew I would do a reveal party because it was a boy. And they were so right. So yeah, Aaron, I did that total classic, threw him a baseball and he hit it, just he and I, and it like exploded in blue, and he was like, cool. Cool.
That's huge for Aaron.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's so much like Brady. We've had this discussion before. Like, Brady's like, oh, yep, cool. Is him ecstatic.
Yeah.
What about Joyce and Rinny? Did you guys find out what you were having, or was it a surprise? Were they? That sounds bad. You know what I mean?
No, we didn't find out.
No, we didn't find out either.
For both?
In fact, I have on the side, I have like this beautiful Guatemalan dress that friends gave us for when we were having Archie, because they were like, we know you're having a girl. You're definitely having a girl. So I've got to send that to my sister, who does have a girl.
Yeah, we didn't find out either, but I thought that I wanted a boy. Well, no, I wanted a boy. I was vocal about that, and thought that we were having a boy. Didn't work, man. Nice try. And Brady was like, what am I going to do if it's a girl? And I'm like, what am I going to do if it's a girl? Like, I'm the biggest tomboy in the history. I don't know what to do when we come. We've got more of a chance of Bretty dealing with the tutus and the dresses and stuff than me. But I guess we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it.
You know, when Archie was born, like I was like more like baby. I still wasn't thinking. I didn't even ask. Do we have a boy or a girl? It was like, there's a baby.
That's mine.
I feel like me knowing like that it was a boy, because I do love surprises, and I've said this to you, but like I genuinely feel like I would always know if someone was surprising me, because I'd get their vibe. But I should have done it like not know. But I think what helped me cope with my illness was kind of knowing the sex at the time. Yeah. But yeah, if I had another, I would definitely be surprised, I think. Yeah,
right. Oh man. I just want to get a couple of comments, because I don't want to miss them all like I did last time. Joe Coombe has said it's a huge testament to all of you and other female athletes that you've kept yourselves healthy enough to have babies. And I assume I've just got some feedback. Can you guys hear that? No? Oh,
yeah, it's gone now though.
Yeah, it's because Meredith's gone. We'll blame her.
I'm here. Do you see me?
No.
No.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, I assume sort of Joe's talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, is a lot of elite athletes don't have their period for a long period of time. And I assume, there's plenty of other things as well, but I assume she's sort of alluding to that. I don't think we spoke about that too much last week. Is that something you guys are comfortable talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Rinny, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. I have actually never missed a period prior to getting pregnant for Izzy, and actually I only just got my period back like 4 months ago when I stopped breastfeeding her. So I had almost 3.5 years with no period.
Wow.
Which was amazing. But since I think I started my period around 13, 14, and never missed one once throughout my whole triathlon career. And yeah, I mean, I think when a person who has lost their period, I think that's a really unhealthy state to be in. I mean, I think there's a lot of different reasons for it, but I think someone who is not getting their period anymore really needs to look at the stress they're under, the nutrition, and really try and make sure they're getting a regular cycle, because it's just important for your bone health and yeah, just general health. So yeah. I never had that. I know the other girls had similar experience or not.
Oh, we've lost Meredith again.
No, I'm right here. Oh, no.
It's okay, keep talking. We're just seeing the little S sign for Skype, but that's okay. You can keep talking. No, she's gone. There you are.
I don't know what I'm doing. I promise.
Stop.
Mac, quit doing that, Mac.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm here. I'm with you.
Just talking about a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but a lot of elite athletes can lose their period from a lot of training over the years, and sometimes people, a consequence of that is potentially finding it hard to become pregnant through different hormonal issues. So we're just having a discussion about that. Have you got anything to add to the discussion?
I was going to say, well, I was 19 and had never had a period, and I was getting all these stress fractures back then when I was 19. And so I went on the pill back then, and I was on the pill probably till I was 26. One made me fat, one made me crazy. And so I got off of them. Finally at 26, I was like, I can't. And then honestly, then I got my period every 28 days. And now, like Rinny, I get my period every 28 days, and I'm like a maniac about it. Like I like have to get it. Yeah. So, and I think I've talked to both these girls about it before, is that it's funny, before I had Mac, like I would get the total like boob swelling. Like the 1 year I did well in Kona when I got 7th it was the 1 year I decided to wear a sports bra whilst racing. And literally I had my period. So literally I have like 7 pounds of back fat and belly. And like, I'm just like dying, like head back on the Queen K, like, sorry, everybody, bleeding everywhere. It was horrible. And my point, but it was my best year in Kona, by the way.
Yeah.
So my point of saying that is that, like, I have to get it every 28 days, or I freak out that I worry about, like, stress fracture. That's not good for bone density. And I remember I was 19 and like just being an athlete my whole life. And I was like borderline osteoporosis. And it's like, dude, you're 19. You got to do something about this. And I did. And the pill definitely helped me. And everyone, I remember a former coach was like, you need to go back on the pill because it'll help control your periods. And I refused to for several reasons. One, I wanted to have kids and I didn't want to worry about that affecting me, getting pregnant, if you will. And then two, I just knew I know birth control has like advanced a lot since way back then. So my friends who are on the IUD now and say, it's great, Mary, you don't get a period. I don't want to do it still. At 41, I still don't want to do it. But it was funny then when after I had Mac, my periods got different or bad in a different way. Like, I mean, I'm just sharing everything here, but like my boobs don't swell anymore. I don't gain that 10 pounds anymore, but I feel like death rolled over. And I wish I could plan my race schedule around this whole thing right now, which is, I'm just making a side comment joke, is like St. George perfectly fell not on my period, and now it's rescheduled for September, and I'm like right on my period. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, maybe that'll change because it changes by days, and we all know the best time to race is like 3 days after I have to like have the release of it, and then I'm much better. It's just that. So pregnancy really tricked my period a little bit, but I'm like the girls. Like I have to get my period every 28 days. I'll literally dig myself in a whole thing of peanut butter to try to get it. Like I'll just keep eating, just to make sure I'm eating. You know, we train so much, right? So like it's easy I can see how athletes don't get it. But if they let that go too long, it's not ideal, you know.
And I think things have changed for the better a lot around this. I think I've definitely spoken to kind of colleagues, like other professionals who almost have it as a badge of honor. I haven't had a period. You know, this is going back a few years. Like, I never get a period. I'm like, well, that's terrible because that's your basic bodily. You know, it's your way. You're supposed to have one, and not having one is not a good thing. So, yeah, like Rinny and Meredith have said, it's concerning. If I was late, I would be concerned. Rather than thinking this means I'm training really hard or I'm super light.
Totally. Like I remember maybe 10 years ago in the Australian Institute of Sport, and other athletes didn't get their period, and I would still be getting mine all the time. I'd be like, damn it, I'm not fit enough. I'm not like these other girls. Like they don't have their period, so they're like lean and fit and fast, and I'm not fast enough. I need to get skinnier. I need to get leaner and lose my period. But it never went away, and I'm thankful now. That was obviously very immature and not very well guided information. I was learning from these other athletes, and I think people are realizing now that, okay, wait, losing a period, maybe you're skinny and maybe you're fast for a few weeks, but after that you can deal with a whole lot of other issues, and bone injury, you see it with young athletes all the time, getting super lean, super fast for one season, and then they're done. They're like adrenal fatigue, stress fractures. And I'm thankful that I never was in that category.
Yeah.
I like my food too much.
Yeah, me too. Especially at the moment, I feel like it punctuates my day. It's like, what's for dinner? In the COVID-19 days. Another thing is, I think, like you, Meredith, I never got on. I would go on to birth control for, say, 3 months, and I'd turn into a psycho, like this angry woman who I was like, who is this person? Like, I could see, it was like I would be outside myself. It was like, why is this person reacting like she did? So I would come off it straight away, and so I didn't use birth control maybe for about 6 months in total in my life. But I think the danger in birth control is it makes people think they're fine because there's this artificial bleeding every 28 days, and they're like, I'm fine. But it's not really, you're kind of out of tune with how your body's actually doing, because maybe if you came off birth control you wouldn't be having a period, and it kind of hides that sign of health.
Yeah, right. I didn't realize it worked that way as well. First of all, I want to dispel a myth. I was told that when you were breastfeeding you wouldn't have your period, which was the case with you, Rinny. I got mine when Frankie, 2 months old Frankie was, and I got my period.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's not fair. Yeah.
And it is next level dealing with, and this is oversharing again, but because I was traveling a bit with Frankie and traveling a little bit by myself, so next level, trying to hold onto her on an aeroplane and go to the toilet. And oh my God, because I get a very heavy period, I'm talking I need to go to the toilet every hour on the first 2 or 3 days. And so, on a long haul, like even just a flight from Melbourne to Perth, which is about 4 hours, that was next level, out of control stress. It was, and I'm like, what?
That's not fair.
Yeah, this isn't fair.
That's not.
It's just not fair.
No. But one of the things I wanted to ask you just on this, and I would have to actually check because I may have been using a drug that was on the ban list when I was racing as an age grouper. I did it twice. This is before I knew very much at all about what I should know. And I was given a drug from my doctor that delayed my period. So if it looked like my period was going to fall on or around race day, it was, I think it was called Premalutin. And I am not recommending people do this. I'm just curious as to whether other people have done it. I start taking it a couple of days before my period was due. And then it would delay my period. Then the day I stopped taking it, my period would then come in. So have you guys ever heard of that happening? Or
No, I mean, I've heard of different people doing things like that, or being on the pill to control when their period would come. For sure. But I never. I mean, I haven't been on birth control. I was on birth control for probably 5 years, from when I was about 18 to 23, 24, and I got off. I haven't been on it since.
Right.
My cycle's regular. We figure it out.
Yeah, okay.
And so, it's not rocket science. If you have a regular period, I very much, I mean, each to their own, but I'm very much against modern medicine coming in and messing with stuff like that. I think you should just try and, it sucks. If you get a period on race day, it sucks.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to have a great day. At least it's not going to be a comfortable day. And you just got to hope that it doesn't fall on those days. And there are ways around it, as you said. But I would prefer to just cop a bad race in the chin and then mess with my natural cycle.
Yeah.
I do have a funny story. The first time I did Ironman Lanzarote, I was on the bike and I was like, I just don't feel good. I've got a stomach ache. And then I got onto the run and I was like, that's why I'm not feeling great. And I literally stopped in every single porta potty on the way round. I got overtaken. I was in second. Someone overtook me. I fell into third. And then I went to drug control and there was a woman with me. She was like, are you feeling okay? I was like, not the best, and kind of. But then I kind of went back 2 years later and she said, the same woman was with me and she said, are you planning on going on to every porta potty again? I was like, funnily enough, no, that's not on my plan. Like, it was a genuine question. She thought it was part of my race strategy to stop in every porta potty.
No.
Because Ironman Lanzarote isn't challenging enough. I've got to throw a few more challenges in there by going into every porta potty.
Yeah.
No better place than a porta potty.
It was embarrassing. Then I went to... What's that?
No better place than going into a hot porta potty in a marathon.
Oh, no better place.
My goodness.
Oh, man. Did you...
I still remember... Sorry.
I was going to say, did you know that... I think, especially in Australia, at Ironman races, they have tampons at the aid station. I don't think many people know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be at every race, but the last few that I've spoken to, they've said, we try and do that. It's just not, it's not like Coke, water, sports drink, tampon. You've got to,
it should be also breast pump.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I want to get back to a few more comments and questions. Matt Shora says, hi from upstate New York. You're all amazing and hope to see you in Lake Placid. Thanks for the short chat, Meredith.
Maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michaela Copland has said, we were told by a friend that if we had that urge that we wanted to start a family, we should act on it because it may take a lot longer than we think. Thank goodness we did, because it took them 2 years and 3 miscarriages. So congratulations, Michaela. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Morgan is due in a week. Morgan Davis, due in a week, having a little girl. And she's wondering, when was your first day of working out post-birth? What was it, swimming, biking, or weights? Morgan, congratulations first, and then I'm going to throw this to the ladies.
I can go. Well, I had Mac via C-section, so it was a little different. Now, Morgan, you're going to be fine. I was just in a different situation. But swimming is the way to go anyways. C-section, non-C-section, swimming. I understand we're in a different world now where a pool might not be convenient for you, but I don't know where you live, Morgan, but hopefully you can eventually get in open water. I swam. My doctor was very liberal. Even I got in the water after maybe 14 days, and literally that, 2 weeks was even I was like, 10 days, I remember. And I was like, I think I should wait a couple more days. I was so excited. I was like, really? I can go at 2 weeks? Perfect. Or at 10 days? And he's like, yeah, just make sure you don't feel like, your scar's going to like implode or anything. I was like, got it. But I got in, and when I say I swam, like it's with a pool boy and no flip turns, obviously. But swimming, regardless, is the way to do it. I personally wouldn't have run for a while just because of the pounding and such. So swimming or biking on a trainer after a couple weeks, I'd say you'd be good to go if you're feeling well.
Yeah, I think I did a lot of walking after having Archie, and then I remember going swimming, and I could have waited. I went by my doctor had told me 6 weeks, and she was usually fairly. I kind of thought, well, was she saying 6 weeks? She kind of gave me that look, as in like, wait 6 weeks. So I remember going for a swim, and I met Julie Dibbons for a swim, and I think I swam 1,500 meters, and it felt like about 10K. And but I remember breastfeeding was so. Hello, Anana. Apple. My breastfeeding was so unregulated that I kind of had a shower and I came out and I was literally like spurting milk. I was like, oh, right. I guess Archie's hungry.
Oh my God.
Oh,
yeah.
Goodness.
I waited a fair amount of time. I had the 6 week rule to kind of give it, like I did a couple of mothers like groups. I did some yoga and yoga, and just my OB basically said wait 6 weeks. And Tim was getting ready for Kona, and we didn't have any help. I didn't have any family come out, so we just wanted it to be quiet and low stress while he was in his last preparation. So Kona was 8 weeks after Izzy was born. So I didn't do my first swim until I was in Kona, which was about 8 weeks. And so I did do a fair amount of walking with Izzy. I think about 2 weeks after she was born, or maybe 10 days after she was born, I did a short walk. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, things did not feel right down there. Yeah, still swollen. And but as I healed, I walked a little further and hiked. We've got some good hiking trails around here, so I just put her in the front carrier, and she would sleep for an hour or 2 hours, and I would walk with her. So mostly just walking until that 8 week time when I got to Kona, and did have some help for someone to watch Izzy while I went for a little swim. And I did my first run around then too. I didn't have my bike, so my first activities were swimming and running. But I did wait, the 8 weeks for me.
Yeah, right.
I wanted to say, though, too, to Morgan, is that the newborn, like when they're first born, especially, it's like the most sacred time. I could have cared less about any form of exercise. Honestly, I only went to the pool because it felt good on my body. And Mac was literally in the, I have a very lucky situation when the pool's open. It's just right in our neighborhood. It's a pool, and I know the people, and he was just in his little carrier, sound asleep. Oh, those were the days when they just sleep in their thing. It's not quite like that anymore. But my point is, it's such a sacred time. And so I guess you want to feel good, go out and walk and get fresh air, but just enjoy it. Most of the time you're naked in bed, trying to feed the kid and then sleep, eating, feeding, sleeping, and you're exhausted. It's exhausting, to be honest. And I mean that in the best way, but it's also very sacred. So just know that, and don't worry so much about exercise.
I definitely agree with all of that. I did walking, and that was just mainly to get fresh air. And it also, I found walking and getting Frankie sort of out in the fresh air helped get us into a bit of a sleeping routine, because sort of teaching her the difference between day and night. And I don't know, someone gave me that advice, and I think that helped me as well, to just get outside and get that fresh air and a bit of sunlight. Otherwise, you tend to feel like you are, somewhat quarantined, many people feel like that.
Yeah.
Probably a perfect time to have, aside from going to the hospital and having a baby right now, probably a perfect time because you'll just be quarantined like the rest of the world for the next 8 weeks. So
absolutely.
by the time you're ready to emerge, hopefully the rest of the world is ready to emerge too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great question from Leslie Battle, and he has said, do you think Ironman, or I guess any sort of triathlon governing body, should adjust rules for athletes who are coming back after childbirth qualification processes? I know that this is something that the PTO is discussing. I can see Rinny nodding. I'm going to go straight to you. What are your thoughts?
No, don't go to me. Go to Joyce.
Yeah, okay. Joyce,
she'll have the best answer to this.
Talk us through it. And I think... sorry, Joyce, you just go.
I think it's... Like, I kind of, it was really strange, like, coming back from having had Archie, and at first I was like, do I even try get to Kona this year? Because I knew that you're effectively starting as if you've never done a triathlon before. And I was, there was part of me was like, pretty much the last race I did, I was second in Kona, and now I'm starting like I've never been on the race course before. And it kind of became a bit of a, like, I got the bit between my teeth, and I was like, I'm going to get back to Kona, but what I had to do to get there was ridiculous. And it kind of, the bit that really got me was I got to Kona and I was invited to the press conference, and I was like, well, why am I at the press conference? I was there just in case I had a good race. I was like, do you know that I just did 3, like, I had a baby and I just did 3 races in 10 weeks, and now I have this. Like, it's unlike, I kind of wanted to give myself the best possibility, but I in my head I was like, it's unlikely I'm going to like do anything particularly special today. And I was pleased that now it's a bit different because of the qualification is, the slots that go per year. But it's, I mean, it's the same for injury. I think that whole system needs to be looked at, because just because you've been injured or just because you've had a baby doesn't mean you shouldn't have to prove yourself as a quality athlete as if you've never done a triathlon before. And that's kind of what it felt like when I came back, if I'm completely honest.
Yep. You got a follow-up, Meredith?
Oh, I was just saying I raced my tatas off. Yeah, to try to get back.
Yeah, you had the same. Yeah.
That's just what you did. I mean, I don't know what. And then I got there and I was like, this is awful. Why did I do that? I don't know. Rinny played it better. I thought you did great. What Rachel, because she's so modest, she won 2 Ironman. Did you win 3? I'm sorry, you might have won 3. She won Ironman when 2, Boulder and Tremblant. Yeah, do I have that right?
Yeah.
That's a huge beat. And then so understandably, you were like, had you won Boulder with the qualification process now, you wouldn't have done Tremblant, right? Or whatever one came first, right? Because you would have already qualified. So that, okay, Ironman, they got the memo on that. And then now it's different. You win an Ironman, or there's certain slots, but still that year you had to race your tatas off. I'm saying all of us in general who were coming back from a baby to get that. I remember I was racing with Liz Blatchford and Lauren Brandon, and we knew I had to get top 3, Lizzie had to win or something, and Lauren had to get second, and that's how it came, first, second, and third. But it was like, if we didn't do that, we wouldn't go to Kona. So yeah, that was stressful back then, but now it's a smidge different. I like this new system, but regardless, people need to take inventory of that after a kid, and that is what the PTO is trying to hone in on for women in the sport. Yeah.
Anything more, Rinny?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been one of just on the PTO side, it has been really nice to hear from athletes who have recently had a baby, and that they know that they can they can hold their position and take their time and not feel like they have to rush back to racing, because they're holding their position and they can decide when they're ready. Because I think we've touched on it, we've all had different birthing experiences and different experiences of how you get back into training. And I think what has amazed me in the last couple of months to get off triathlon is that you see Alison Felix. I mean, how many gold medals has that woman won?
Goodness.
And her contract is completely you mean she's not with Nike anymore because it was like, you're having a baby, that's it. And it just seems like that's such an attitude of 20 years ago rather than now. Like, women can have babies and they can have a career, whatever that career is.
And on that, sponsors, when it comes to having kids, and exactly what you just said, it feels like it's a mindset of 20 years ago where, you know, once you have a kid, it's game over. And, you know, we speak with a lot of age groupers, and so many of them look to people like yourself as inspiration for having kids and being the elite athletes that you are. So sponsors need to see that as, like, that is fantastic storytelling, and we look at sponsors in everyday life, whether you're a female or a male, and there's so many different ways of telling your story and selling their products that doesn't always have to be about being on a racetrack. There's so many other opportunities out there. So what I'm leaning towards is how, I mean, and obviously you don't want to be throwing anyone under the bus or anything, but how has your relationship with sponsors been? Did you find it difficult? Because it's a very real issue in our sport and in many sports when it comes to sponsors and the choice to start a family. For women, I'm not too sure of too many men who say, yeah, we're going to start a family, and then they start losing sponsors. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Yeah, I mean, in my experience, I think certainly in the last couple of years, there's been a shift in the industry, and certainly having a baby sort of 5, 6, 7 years ago as an athlete looks different to what it does today. And, you know, I feel like it's a change for the better. And certainly, you know, 2.5 years ago when I had Izzy, first of all, I was very honest with everyone, you know, all along. At some point, I'm going to have a baby. I don't know when it's going to be, but I plan to continue to be active as long as I can. You can use me in different ways. I will travel. I will, you know, I obviously won't be able to race, but you know, if you are intelligent, there are ways that you can use me in different ways to promote your brand and different marketing strategies you can come up with. And for the most part, my sponsors did utilize me in different ways. But I will say, and I won't, 80% of my sponsors were amazing. There was a small percentage that seemed like after I got back to racing and the next contract was up, it seemed like we owed them one.
Right.
And I'm like, well, no, I don't owe you one. I was quite active throughout my pregnancy and visible, and I was here for you if you wanted to use me, but it just did, yeah. I mean, I feel like we got through pretty well, and I was paid pretty well throughout my pregnancy from my amazing sponsors, but there were a couple of sponsors that just, and I didn't hear this directly, just my managers, like, it seems like they think we owe them one, like they're going to cut us our salary a little bit here because, well, you didn't really race last year, so maybe, so yeah, there was like a little bit of that, but honestly, I feel like we were pretty lucky in that our partners were forward thinking.
Right.
That. Yeah, as you said, age group athlete, I'm, you know, we're more relatable now. You know, we have others, we're juggling. We're not just professional triathletes, you know, racing and training and having nothing else going on in our lives. We have a baby to look after and a family we're raising and those sort of things, which is way more relatable than just a super fast professional triathlete just swimming, biking, and running and eating and sleeping.
Yeah. Anything from you guys?
I was going to say, I like Rennie, I told my sponsors before I announced publicly, because I just wanted to be sure, like, to be kosher with it all. And I told them, I called them all individually, just because I was fearful, as we talked about last call. Like, I didn't want to really do anything until I was at least over the halfway mark. Right. And so my point is, it's funny, I was very fortunate too. Like Rinny, 80% of my sponsors, I got the salaries still. And technically in my contract, if I didn't race for 5 months, if you were injured or whatever, I wasn't supposed to get that salary. So I feel very thankful about that. I was still given my quarterly salaries or whatever. That said, when it was time to renew, like one of my sponsors, and I was very close with the contact, and she was actually leaving. And I will say, I said, can you just tell it to me, Frank? Is it because I'm older and because I just had a kid? And she said, yes. See, they're looking for the young 23-year-olds that have no intention of having a kid anytime soon, maybe eventually, but those girls have what 16 more years before I even had mine. So it's like they're looking for that. And so I wanted her to tell me. I promise this is off the record, I'm not going to sue or anything. I just tell me, is this really the reason? Because I'm 40 actually at the time, and I just had a kid. And she was like, it is. And I said, thank you for being honest with me. And that was just like an eye opener, like, okay. And then it was like, I put my head down and I was like, I'm 40 and my best years are ahead of me. Come on, I'm gonna
beat that 23-year-old.
Yeah.
I know, right? And I am lining up, like when I am treading water, you guys know this feeling, and you like look to your right and you look to your left and you're like, oh crap, I am like, I could be her mother, right? Again, no, but I mean, yeah, that was tough, because that was someone I was with for 8 years, and you're just like, really? Do I not have any clout? I mean, I have no intent, and I said I have no intention of retiring for the next few years. I wanted to bust out the human. We got it out. Now I want to go back to racing, and so, yeah, like Rin said, it's sponsorships in general have taken a huge shift. It's not like they used to be 6-7 years ago, right? So you have to be very calculated and careful with it. But it's just, how can you be? We're birthing a child. We need to like take care of our kid. I can't worry about, okay, you're not going to pay me. It's not like we make, I mean, Rinny might, but it's not like we make LeBron James money. It's not like, like $1 million contracts, but it does, like, every little thing adds up. And so when you lose a partner, it's a big deal, So I've had people come to me like, we're getting out of triathlon, and I'm like, okay. And then like a week later you see them with someone else and you're like, huh. And when your contact leaves, it's really hard too. When you develop a relationship with a contact and then they leave, that's hard on us too. I'm sure the gals can all relate. Like when they leave, and actually, Rin, I specifically remember you saying something. It was like, X years ago, they'd roll out the red carpet or something. It was something to that effect. And then now you like get nothing. And that was after you had Izzy. And you're like, really? Like, I'm the same athlete. I just stopped for like a mere 10 months to have a human, So yeah. I remember reading that. I think I was pregnant at the time, and I was like, oh my gosh. If Rinny's having trouble, I'm really going to have trouble. No?
and to piggyback off that, I felt like in the year I raced in 2017 after having Archie, I kind of felt like there was a shit, like I was lucky, and even that terminology, I'm like, the world goes round and women have to have babies, so why am I being like, that's so good, you're going to pay me?
Yeah.
Right.
But that's kind of the whole, the narrative to this. But I definitely felt this shift of like, oh, well, she's had one. Does she want another one? We're going to, just in case, we're going to cut you. And it kind of, at the end of 2017, I had some big disappointments in how I was treated by some sponsors. And I think part of that came through, they were kind of hedging to get back to me. Is she going to have another child? Like, do we renew? What are you going to do for this? It was just a change, and sponsorship has changed as well. But I definitely they were on board for that year, and then it was like, well, there's a 23-year-old who probably isn't going to have another baby. So
yeah, it's I actually wrote it. It was Rinny, when we saw you in Geelong and you were pregnant, but you hadn't told. Well, you told me, but you hadn't told the masses. But people had seen you and were texting me saying, "Is she pregnant?" And I was just like, I don't know, playing dumb. And so many people wanted to know, because why were you in Geelong but you weren't racing and, and it started to get my back up on your behalf. You were probably just like, oh, whatever, I don't care. But one of the things was, I was like, what happens if she hasn't spoken to her sponsors yet? And now all of a sudden these rumors are flying. And so I actually wrote a little piece, and I didn't say it was about you, but I just sort of said, just stop asking people. When whoever it is ready, they will tell you there's probably a very good reason why they haven't announced. It could be because the whole 12, 13 week, I shouldn't do that, but the 12, 13 week, unwritten rule that a lot of people won't say anything until they've had that 13-week scan. And fair enough, like with Meredith, you took till 20 weeks because you were so worried that things wouldn't pan out. I was like, it could be that. It could be a very personal rule. It could be a very business decision in that you don't want to that you don't want sponsors to think that you could be pregnant when you're not, or vice versa. And I don't know. It really got me quite angry on your behalf. Do you remember that time being in Geelong? And
yeah, I definitely remember being in Geelong, and I was, it was February. Usually, I'm a little starting to get into shape, but I was a little puffier than normal. People were speculating, and it was hard to throw off the set. But I didn't really want to tell the whole world until like that 20-week scan. For me, getting that 20-week scan, even though we got through the 12 weeks and we got the genetic testing at 10 weeks, it said everything was 100% fine. But like my personal comfort, I just didn't want to put it out into the whole world until 20 weeks. Because that, for whatever reason, I decided that was the time that I would feel comfortable sharing that news. I think I waited 12 weeks to tell my sponsors, and I think that was before Geelong. So I would have told my sponsors then anyway. But yeah, I mean, people are going to speculate it. And I just mostly just thought it was quite funny, like especially when I came back to Boulder. I was almost 20 weeks, and I remember going to Amanda Lovato had a baby shower, or like some sort of gathering down at the local I can't even think of the name of the place, but it's like a anyway, never mind. It's like a little area where we all meet up all the time. And I was 20 weeks, and I'm not a big person, so you can tell, like, my booty is out there, my belly is out there, and I wore, like, a mid dress, and it was like, and straight away people were just like, oh, my God. And I just laughed, because I feel like some people just genuinely thought I let myself go. Like, because Danielle crushed me that year before. In the 16, I got second, and she crushed me. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm just giving up. Yeah, just giving up. It's too hard.
Oh my God.
So I feel like some people just thought I'd just gone off the rails.
Oh,
did at the pub for 3 months.
So
you're drinking too many ciders.
Exactly. When we're in Geelong, so Brady was down there, and he bumped into you during the race. I think you'd gone out for a jog or whatever. And he told me later, he's like, oh, yeah, I walked past these people who were just talking, and they had said, oh, that girl back there looks like Mirinda Carfrae, but just a little bit bigger. And I just said to Brett, please tell me you didn't tell her that. Because then he bumped into you, and I'm like, please, for the love of God, tell me you didn't say that to Rinny. And he's like, no. Because he would have, and I was just like, oh, my God. But anyway.
I wouldn't have cared, though. I would have found that. I was bigger. Like, let's be honest. Like, yeah, I was bigger. I had a baby in me.
It happens.
Yeah.
Rinny and I were both at Vineman. I think Tim was racing, Rin, and you were pregnant with Izzy, and I was pregnant with Mac, and I had on like a detective jacket, like long jacket. Rinny had on a puffy, like we looked like it was cold, but I was also you were much farther along, so I would though hadn't told anyone yet, and I was cheering for people out. Like I cheered for Tim. I was out like mile 4 of the course, and I remember I was trying to coordinate with you, but like I had like on this like hat, and I was like incognito, but I wasn't trying to be. People just made fun of me, but I had this detective jacket on, and because you couldn't tell, I was only like 3 months at that time or whatever, but like I felt, for us as athletes, our body changes so fast, and all of a sudden we have like a pooch, and then I felt better. Yeah, boobs. The boobs really tripped me out. But like, it was better when the belly matched the boobs. Once the belly matched the boobs, I was way like, oh, I got this. And I was like, that person like rubbing my belly. I was like, oh, this is much better than when I had just like a beer belly.
My problem is I put most of the weight on in that first trimester. So I went from one appointment to the other, and I was having fairly regular appointments, especially with Benjamin. And I went in and I put like 13 pounds on in 2 weeks. She was like, whoa. She was very nice. She was like, putting lots of weight on, this is really good. And I was like, 13 pounds. I'm going to be the size of the house. It's hard to hide 13 pounds at the first trimester.
Right.
My last weight, I was heavier than Tim before I had Izzy.
Oh, man.
He was just about raised weight, but still, he's a big guy.
Yeah.
Right.
That
is funny.
I need to get to a couple more questions before I let you. You guys still got a few more minutes up your sleeve?
Yeah, of course.
Yep. This is a question from last week. Malik Ali has said, all my respect to you all. You're all very special athletes. I do have a question. As mums, I think mental training is one of our main priorities. Do you guys do anything specific to be mentally strong or to look after your mental health? Other than drinking.
I should. I should do it. I should, but I feel like right now, especially in like the situation the world is in right now, we're all hustling in the mind, and I've talked a lot about a lot of that with my friends. But like, I will say with like openness, I've never talked to a sports psychologist or a thing, and there's been times in my life I think I should have, and especially to cope with motherhood too, and that whole like situation of birthing and that then how I felt, but I never have, and I don't want to say that's a good thing. I just hadn't found the right person, so that's the only reason why I personally haven't. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't. So there's a lot of times in my life now, like a lot of my friends meditate, and that brings them a lot of joy, and I haven't done that either. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm on like the low end totem pole. I should do a lot of things that I don't. I don't know about the other gals, but I would like to. I put it on my like I would like to list.
I think I fall into your category, Meredith. Like I probably should. And there's definitely been points now looking back, I think that would have been really helpful to me. But I haven't. And sometimes it's like, especially after having Archie, sometimes it feels like you're so busy just getting everything done that like it's an extra slot of time just to even like investigate who would I go and talk to or whatever that.
Right.
So it just doesn't get done. And now because I'm not competing, like training is that's something I'm pretty. I never feel guilt about going out to go for a run or to get on the bike because it's a part of who I've always had exercise. So I don't feel if I'm going to go out for an hour running, I don't associate guilt, the mum guilt with that. It's like, no, I'm a better person if I go and do some exercise. So it's something that I agree with Brett that is going to happen most of the time. Not every single day, but most days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on par with the other two. I don't see anyone or practice anything in particular, and I think as Rachel said, there are a lot of things we could do better, and thinking about them just makes you more stressed. And so I think I just try and do my training, look after my baby, look after my man, look after myself, and if we're all good, then that gives me peace. And I think I feel that in terms of mental strength during races and so forth, I think having Izzy gave me more mental strength than I ever had before. But early in my career, I spoke to sports psychologists and so forth, and it was kind of part of being in the Australian Institute of Sport when I was a junior athlete racing for my country. And I didn't gain a lot out of it. I thought it was kind of a bit of fluff. But I think if I was to go back into that world, I think I would more probably go towards meditation and mindfulness than seeking therapists to talk to and help me gain more mental strength or whatever.
Yeah. When it comes to racing since having a child, and I remember having this conversation with a few pro athletes years ago, and you just sort of talked about it then, Rinny, that you have a different form of mental strength when you race since having Izzy. Where do you think that comes from? Does it come from, I want to get back to her, I have spent a lot of time away from her to train, to give myself the opportunity to race, so I want to give my best for her because I've spent time away from her? I'm just riffing here. Or is there even a pressure of, now I have to provide for a child? It's not just myself and my partner. And these are not, I'm not trying to project anything on you. I'm just trying to think of, how do they motivate you more for racing? Anyone?
Yeah, I think all of the things you mentioned for sure, but also I think prior to having Izzy, triathlon was my whole world. Like, obviously also married to a professional triathlete. It was our everything, and the races were so important. And with that, it came a lot of anxiety and stress leading into the race. After having Izzy, I kind of was able to take a step back, and I remember going to Kona the first time after having Izzy to race, and I was just like much lighter. I felt much lighter and happier, and like, this is just a race. Like, yes, it's very important, and yes, you bet your ass I'm gonna race to the best of my ability. I've sacrificed a lot of time from Izzy to do the training, to put in the preparation to race well here, and I'm going to race well for myself and for my family. But it is just a race. Like, there are more important things in the world, and I think that gave me a little bit of pressure off or stress off, and enabled me to just go out there and just enjoy crushing myself, enjoy like the competition, enjoy going out there and trying to get the best out of myself, rather than being kind of scared of going out there. Not scared, but just like apprehensive, going into a race like, oh man, this is going to really hurt, it's going to be really painful. I almost welcomed that pain, welcomed that competition, welcomed the chance to go out there and just compete and do what I love to do. When you've had something not taken away, but you haven't been able to do something for a period of time, and I had never had any injury, and so I never missed any races or seasons or anything. I wasn't able to race for a whole year. Obviously, my choice. I wanted to have Izzy, and best thing I ever did. But then you come back to racing, you're like, wow, I really love this. I really love competing. Really love like having to dig that extra bit. And I'm like getting excited now because I'm like, man, I want to be out there racing and like fighting against these other girls. And it's kind of a beautiful thing to be able to prepare for a race and to go out there and be able to race. It's such a gift that we all have.
Yeah. I wonder how many people will be looking at races differently after this break in our racing calendar, age groupers, professionals, everyone, like right now after the COVID-19 settles down. What about Meredith, Joyce? Do you have a response to...
Well, I was just going to say with Rach and Rinny, one thing I wanted to just make sure to note is that even before these two gals had children, is that we're from the same era. I mean, Rach and I are the same age. Rinny's a couple years younger, not 40 yet. She just turned 39. She's still got another year. All good.
We're the same, Rinny.
Literally, Rachel and I literally are like a week apart. It doesn't matter. The point is they're from my era, and what I've always admired about them prior to them even having children is that they have a balanced approach on life too. And Rinny and I have always talked about like having, I sat with you in Siri one time and had a bottle of Prisoner in Kona, like it's not about the drinking or whatever, but it's about having that balance. And whenever Rinny hasn't had a good race, which is like both of them, which is very minimal, but they don't dwell on it, right? Rachel and Rinny have never dwelled on it. And that was prior to children. So I know, Rin, you just said like it was your life before Izzy and stuff, and I'm sure it was, but you like never portrayed that. You've always, to me, portrayed like that balanced outlook, which I appreciate, because it's so easy to fall down that tunnel of like we're all laser focused. I think having a kid made me even more laser focused in terms of, all right, I gotta hurry through this workout because I want to get back to Mac. And the three of us too had a luxury. A lot of times we have it different than a lot of amateurs, that we bring our kids to our business meetings. You know what I mean? And I had to talk to myself about that. I remember in Texas, and Mac was just turned 5 months, and I was racing and I was sobbing. Like when I was nursing him prior to like going out on a 9-hour day, I was like sobbing. And then I thought of all the like age groupers that they live their kids and they go to their offices for 9 hours. My kid gets to be on like the sidelines watching me. So like that helped me like snap out of my like crazy for a minute and like really be thankful that I got to do that. So I guess what I'm saying is that like having a kid makes it everything more efficient. Like there's no time for riffraff. Like, and I think that's also goes to why we don't have, well, I'm sorry, let me say, I don't make time for, I guess, therapy, if you will. I don't make the time because I feel happy. And as long as I'm like a happy person, I'm a happy racer, I guess. And so like Rin said, I'm like I am treading on the start line looking at these little 23-year-olds and I'm like, all right, let's do this. You know what I mean? And so, and I love that. And that's why we're all going to go out and give it our all every day. But I'm just saying that I think motherhood has made us that much, I guess, not to be cliche, but a little bit, it makes us a little more stronger and aware of what we get to do out there. And so, I don't know, that's my lens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. And when I think back to 2017 and the races and the training, like I would be like, okay, like it was almost, I didn't even think about the hard sessions. It'd be like, oh, I get to do this and like, you know, really put a good effort out on the training, and then it'd just be back to business as usual. And I look back on 2017 and all the places that we went as a family to race, and they're like just the best memories. And taking Archie to Kona, which was, you know, has been such a focal point in every year. And then like it was magical. Like the race, I didn't have a good race, but all my memories about being in Kona, it was pretty special, you know, being able to kind of go full circle. And you know, when I have momentary thoughts of like, oh, could I get back into training? And I think, oh, it would be fun to like do that again. But I'm also like, I know how much work is involved. And I'm like, oh. Yeah. But it was hard, you know, hard, but good things are hard, I think. And I have just the best memories of of 2017 and getting back on the race course. And they were joyful, you know, it was like really fun being able to have this extra person at the finish line. It was good.
Just further to what you're all saying, and the whole mother guilt is a very real thing. I used to think that people were full of shit before I had a kid, and get the mother's guilt. And even very, very recently, I've had the big ups and downs with what's happening in the world at the moment, and started to feel really guilty about not having a really secure, I guess, a safety net for our family. Working in the industry that we all work in, it's not a very secure job for myself, and this has proven that. And so I've just been feeling quite guilty. But people have just said to me, look, we've been able to give Frankie these experiences that not many people get to do. She's only 19 months, but she's such a happy, well-adjusted kid that, I mean, there's many factors, but I have to remind myself that it's because she's immersed herself in our sort of lifestyle, and she's managed to travel the world. She may not remember it right now, but like Joyce has said, we've got those memories as a family and everything. And like you said, Meredith, not everyone has the opportunity to have their kid with them at work, and I do. So I have to remind myself that is something that I can give to her. I can't always give her, you know, I'm definitely going to be buying her a Porsche for her 18th birthday or anything. but I can give her experiences. So I think that's what's been giving me the tight chest. Meredith, we were talking about that earlier today, but I feel better about talking about it. I'm very well aware we've been going for an hour and 20 minutes this time, which I think is even longer than last time. Sorry. So I am going to have to wrap this up and thank everyone for joining us who left comments. I think we got to most of them, not all of them. I'm sure us four can catch up again at some stage. We're not going to do it again next week, but hopefully we can do this again because the feedback's been amazing and there's always plenty to talk about. I think, Meredith, were you just doing that one?
I just wanted to make sure that I said, and so with some of my best friends, we've been talking about this to kind of cope through what everyone's going with, and as mothers too, and this comes actually from, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of you have read or heard of the book Untamed by Glennon Doyle. But like we talk about, and she really, so maybe this is my therapy, is Brene Brown and Glennon Doyle, but about that we can do hard things, right? We can do hard things as mothers, as racers, as professionals in the media, and coping with this COVID and stuff. And so that's been with my crew, that's been our thing, is we can do hard things. And so I know everyone out there can definitely do hard things, whether it's cope through this. And I always say everything ends and this will too. So I'm just, we're thinking of everyone out there, and we'll be on the race courses soon, and we'll be out in the world soon. And we can do hard things, is what I was saying.
I love it. Rinny and Joyce, would you like to have some form of a sign off? Let's do it.
I think Meredith nailed. I think Meredith nailed it for all. We can do hard things.
Cheers.
I do tell that to Archie when he's like, "Can you help me put my trousers on?" You can do hard things. Putting your pack trousers.
Perfect.
So I should live that too.
I love it. Ladies, thank you so much again for giving us your time. I appreciate it. I know everyone else appreciates it. And take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Give all of your little ones a smooch from me. And we'll talk to you all soon.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.